Salofalava, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Susana Suisuiki. Coming up, landowners in Solomon Islands seek compensation. And
all New Zealand had to do, as I mentioned last week, was for Peter to be a bit more humble.
Kiribati's government pushes back. Also,
it didn't take us long to come to this conclusion, and he leads with his actions.
Ardie Savea named captain for Moana Pasifika. Landowners of Kangava Bay, East Reno in the Solomon Islands have filed a compensation claim against international companies responsible for an oil spill in 2019, which heavily polluted their customary lands. Considered the biggest environmental disaster in Solomon Islands history, the grounding of the MV Solomon trader and subsequent oil spill caused environmental devastation on Reno Island. The claim has been filed in the High Court of Solomon Islands in Honiara. I spoke with Dirk Hines from the Pacific Legal Network representing the landowners and began by asking what's taken them so long to file the claim.
It's a combination of a lot of things, Susanna. There were some steps taken by the government back in 2021 to file a claim against some of the parties responsible. That didn't really go anywhere due to a lot of reasons. I think probably the biggest inhibitor to the claim being brought in a timely fashion is just that the regulatory framework to support it didn't appear to be there when initial attempts were made to file. But what we've done now is kind of revisited the basis of the claim with the help of an extensive international team helping the landowners and the government put together what we think is a pretty sound legal argument. And that just took a long time to get the pieces in play. The reason for the now being the time to file is because we had a actual 6-year sort of limitation on one of the grounds we were claiming. If we had have claimed outside the 6-year period, we may have been barred from claiming it. So we just got that in time, and we're very happy about it.
Right. And how extensive are the damages from the oil spill?
Pretty extensive. I think it's been quite a passage of time since the spill, but not to say that the effects aren't still being felt. They are being felt to an extreme degree by the local community there. It's approximately 3,000 people that live on Rennell, and I think it's a small island, and events like this in small places affect a lot of different people in different ways. The community has always used the Kangava Bay area for fishing, for life, for food, for sustenance. The water around the island near where the spill occurred was obviously also heavily polluted. The corals were destroyed and also obliterated by the ship actually impacting the reef. Social impacts haven't been documented as well as what you would expect, just because when the spill happened, everyone kind of, once the cleanup was done, everyone forgot about the community in a way, and no one's been there to kind of document the social and cultural impacts of the spill. But I mean, based on our conversations with our clients, they are extensive. I think the community's had to change the way they eat, from being able to kind of access the reef to being fearful of the toxins that are in the fish and the shellfish they consume. And also, I think just on a cultural level, people are anxious about what lasting health impacts might be the community might be facing, just because it was such a large amount of toxic substances which have entered their environment. They don't know, whether it's affected cropping and land around where the spill happened, what sort of persisting health impacts that the people there may have faced in the last 6 years. So there's a whole array of very kind of painful impacts for the landowners in Rennell, and we are trying as part of this case to do more to get the evidence and information around those impacts before the court so we can help them with their ruling and an assessment of damages if we're successful.
I know that compensation is being sought after, but I'm just wondering, have those responsible offered even an apology?
There's some, back in 2019, there was some press, a media release done by the Korean insurer and King Trader, very generic language about expressing remorse. But I think that the most telling thing is once this ship was moved and the initial cleanup happened, they wiped their hands of it. They haven't been down there to help or support the community in the years that have followed. I guess the community have tried to get the platform necessary to negotiate with them, but they seem to have been ignored on that front. So, I mean, there's some very cursory initial statements around being sorry, but I don't think sorry is going to cut it in this instance. So we're talking about up to 300 tons of heavy oil being leaked into a very vital ecosystem, which is owned by these landowners, and I think just a one press release at the time is clearly not enough.
So now that the claim has been filed, what happens next?
We'll go through the proper channels of making sure that the parties responsible are given notice of the claim. They'll have obviously need time to digest the allegations against them and formulate a response. We are going to just be very conscious of the fact that they are international companies. Solomon Islands, probably wrongly, a lot of companies sort of see the Solomon Islands and think, well, I don't have to go down there and answer to that claim, but we're going to do everything we can to put the pressure on these companies to actually answer this claim and appear in, as part of the court process in the Solomon Islands to defend the allegations against them.
In its first official statement on a diplomatic row, the Kiribati government has pushed back against New Zealand's review of its aid. Last week, New Zealand's Foreign Minister announced a rethink of more than 100 million New Zealand dollars in development support after Kiribati President Tanis Mamau withdrew from a meeting a week before a planned visit. Caleb Fotheringham has more.
A statement from the Kiribati government says it was New Zealand who proposed the date of the visit in January and also pulled out. It has been voiced.
Tentative preparations started right away with excitement to receive New Zealand's Deputy Prime Minister just 3 days after the Australian Deputy Prime Minister.
The statement says Kiribati was surprised to learn of the aid review through media and the government was under the impression alternative dates were being explored.
In the diplomatic world, grievances are handled with the exchange of letters, and most likely the two parties involved will resolve the matter amicably. However, this was not the case and is very unfortunate.
They say New Zealand was advised President Tanis Mamau was in the outer islands, so was unable to attend the meeting with Foreign Minister Winston Peters. But a spokesperson for Mr. Peters says New Zealand has made repeated attempts to have a high-level meeting with Kiribati, pointing out Aotearoa has engaged with all Pacific Island Forum members in 2024, with the sole exception of Kiribati. The statement has been voiced.
We regret this lack of Foreign Minister to Foreign Minister and other high-level contact with Kiribati, despite our repeated attempts, which makes it difficult for New Zealand to make appropriate and responsible decisions on future development assistance there.
Yati Yati, a geopolitical expert from Victoria University, says the grievance played out counter to the Pacific way of talanoa.
For this to come through the media and not through discussion by the diplomats themselves and the ministers themselves, it would come as a shock to Pacific Island countries and Kiribati especially.
He thinks Mr. Peters misstepped.
I think this is a big mistake by New Zealand. It was ill-advised and unwise. All New Zealand had to do, as I mentioned last week, was for Peters to be a bit more humble and accept a meeting with the Vice President.
Both New Zealand and Kiribati are willing to repair the relationship, with Mr. Peters' spokesperson saying they hope for a meeting in the coming months. Kiribati says they believe the problem can be resolved.
Despite this media issue, the strong bonds between Kiribati and New Zealand will enable a resolution to this unfortunate standoff for the benefit of both countries and their peoples.
Mr Yati says it's up to Mr Peters, adding that Kiribati has one of the largest exclusive economic zones in the world, making it an important strategic country for any nation that wants to engage in the Pacific.
Moana Pasifika officially announced All Black star Ardie Savea as their new captain. With 94 caps and counting as vice-captain for the All Blacks, Savea told media he believes it's God's purpose to lead Moana Pasifika. He said that it was important to give back and be around his Pacific brothers. Grace Fever was at the announcement and has more.
7 months after Ardie dropped a major bombshell by joining Moana Pasifika, speculation about his captaincy has finally been put to rest. Journalists arrived anticipating Ardie Savea's announcement as captain, and their suspicions were confirmed. The team looked to benefit Ardie's experience and leadership. Savea says it's a huge honour.
Yeah, it's just a huge honour, obviously, to come here and try and lead with my actions first and then help bring the boys to a level where we can be proud of.
Coach Whaalongo Tana Umanga says Savea brings a wealth of knowledge and it was a natural decision.
I think it didn't take us long to come to this conclusion, and he leads with his actions, and he's got a wealth of knowledge. As you said, he's captain, had been leaders in a lot of high-level teams, so it was pretty natural for us to make him our captain, and the players have really got him behind him, as has everyone else.
Looking ahead, Savea says Moana Pasifika moving forward can achieve great things.
Yeah, I think we can achieve great things. We know that we have the flair and we've got the X factor in our squad. It's about bringing that and also game awareness, smartness, control in our game, being able to play in the right areas of the field with a bit of flair.
Moana Pasifika's upcoming match is against the Force on February 15th. They will then face Ardie Savea's former team, the Hurricanes, on Saturday, March the 8th at their home stadium.
Meanwhile, Moana Pasifika and the Highlanders battled it out at the North Harbour Stadium on Friday in a pre-season game. While it was scrappy, the game was a great shake-off before the new season of Super Rugby Pacific kicks off. Elias Atora has more.
While the Highlanders scored in the dying minutes to win 26-21 in the 3 30-minute spells, both teams were happy to finally get some game time after a long off-season program. Highlanders co-captain Fijian Jim Tawatavanawai says it was good to be back and play some footy.
Just dusting off the cobwebs. We've been rehabbing the whole pre-season, same knee. But good to be out there with the boys, get that confidence back. But happy with the result. Didn't execute what we trying to achieve today. We go back to the drawing board and learn what we did today and go again on Sunday.
His flatmate and Tongan Folau Fakatava agrees it was a good test with lots of learnings for the new group of players under head coach Jamie Joseph.
Obviously a new team, new management, coaches. Yeah, it's good to be out there, first head out, especially the last 7 to 8 weeks, what we've been working together with the coach and the team. Yeah, a lot to learn in this game and we're excited for this new group.
Moana Pasifika head coach Whaalongo Tana Umanga says coming away without injuries was a major plus for them.
We'll take the positives from it, obviously, as you always do. I think the biggest thing I was more fearful for was injuries, and so we've ticked that box. We've come away with no injuries, and also I suppose we're just looking for players to put their hands up. There's some opportunities, and you probably would have seen a lot of players out there that you haven't even heard of. But we felt that they put their hands up today, and it's good for us in terms of looking at our depth. And the third thing for us was just getting a hit out.
Prop James Lay, who missed the 2024 season because of injuries, says he believes the side can make it through to the top 6 if they can use their physicality and control their games.
You know, big Polynesian boys playing rugby, that's always going to be there. If they try to come direct, then they're going to be met with some pretty big shoulders and it's going to be heavy collisions. That's what we're chasing, and I think the big thing for us is being able to harness that in the right way as well at moments that really count. And there's chahuing, but then there's chahuing smart and playing rugby as well, which is the important part about it.
Meanwhile, in other pre-season games at the weekend, the Queensland Reds thrashed Bristol Bears of England 82-21, the Brumbies and the Waratahs drew 36-all, the Blues beat the Crusaders 35-19, and the Chiefs pipped the Hurricanes 43-40. The first round of the 2025 Super Rugby Pacific Series kicks off on 14th February, with the Crusaders hosting the Hurricanes and the Waratahs squaring off against the Highlanders in Sydney. For the Pasifika teams, Moana Pasifika will meet the Western Force in Perth on 15th February, while the Fijian Drua will host the Brumbies in Suva on the same day.
That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, tō whā soifua.